What's going on, guys? Liam from Lazarus Personal Training here. Today I'm going to talk about how I think resistance training can really help you in your professional wrestling career. So for me, when I started wrestling training about 10 years ago, I was a skinny 17-year-old kid. I wanted to get better at wrestling and I wanted to look like a wrestler. So for me, that meant going to a gym. What I realised over time was that the gym helps wrestling in so many different ways. That's what I'm going to touch on in this video. So that's not to say that you have to look like a bodybuilder to be a professional wrestler. It's not to say that you have to dedicate hours and hours into the gym to be a professional wrestler. It's not to say that the best wrestlers look like they're in shape, but let's be honest, they do. This video isn't touching on what makes a good pro wrestler. What I'm going to touch on in this video is how I think resistance training can help you perform better as a professional wrestler and get the most out of being in this sport. Obviously, this is all my opinion. Talk to anybody about this. I like to think that I have credentials being a personal trainer, being someone that's been in wrestling for a good number of years, but obviously this opinion is just like anybody else's opinion, so take it for what you want. If we look at what a pro wrestler looks like over the years, if you go back to the very early days where you've got people like Karl Gotch, for example, and George Hackenschmidt, they aren't bodybuilders by any means, but they are in shape. And they are physically very in shape. I mean, you've just got to look at how Gotch workouts have stood the test of time as to what a physical specimen he was. To then take it into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, where it becomes way more about bodybuilding and the cartoonish look of a pro wrestler, and how that's pretty much stood the test of time. And if you look at popular culture, whenever professional wrestling is portrayed, they look like cartoonish big characters. And it's very much what people perceive professional wrestling to be. And then you look at modern wrestling, where I think it's actually a little bit more about being an athletic body. I think now with things like UFC and CrossFit, where we see these top end athletes, professional wrestling has actually moved a lot more down that route. And I also think that has to do with the type of people that are being pro wrestlers. And then if you think about what a professional wrestler looks like, if we take, for example, two on the current roster, you've got someone like Drew McIntyre, who is a big guy, who is very much a heavyweight, who is lean. He's got abs coming through. He's got big shoulders, and he's very much in shape. Compare that to someone, say, like Kevin Owens, who is a bigger dude. He has a gut on him, but still can go, still has a very good look around him. He isn't just big in the midsection and then nothing anywhere else. He's big up top too, and also he can go, he's fast, he's strong. He has physical ability about him which makes him a good professional wrestler. I don't care who you are, whether you are the most in shape guy on the card or the least in shape guy on the card. If you can't go, if you aren't strong, if you aren't fast, you won't survive in professional wrestling. There's no two ways about it. So let's break down what I think professional wrestlers need for their resistance training. So one, I think we need to be strong. I think we need to have a fundamental baseline of what strength is. So I think we need to strengthen our primary movement patterns, such as our hinge, squat, push and pull. Not only is that going to add a fundamental base layer of muscle mass, I also think it's going to do a lot to protect our joints. I see a lot of younger lads end up with injuries because they just don't have muscle mass on them. Their ligaments and tendons aren't developed and protected, and strength training helps to do that. So again, we don't have to be a top end powerlifter lifting 501 kilograms for a deadlift, but a baseline strength layer is going to help us stay healthy and avoid injury. I also think that a pro wrestler needs to have some speed about them. I think if you look at the way that pro wrestling is at the moment, it's a very fast spectacle. And to work on that in a resistance element, to work on our resistance training to benefit that, is doable. I do think metabolic conditioning, like CrossFit, is a very apt way of getting better at pro wrestling if you're not in a wrestling ring. Think about a wrestling match, how we have to run, jump, climb, pick people up, support a zone body weight, go. And then think about a CrossFit workout, where you might be picking things up, running, you might be jumping. There's a load of aspects that translate over. And it's not to say that traditional cardio means, such as going for a run or going for a swim, aren't good. I think they're good for developing cardiovascular health. But if we're looking to get better at being a pro wrestler, I would favour more metabolic conditioning styles of workout over traditional cardio capacity workouts. And then again, we need to look like a pro wrestler, and that is going to be having some beach body muscles on us. It's going to be working on our hypertrophy of our muscles. It's going to be some more traditional bodybuilding style workouts. I think there's been a shift. And I think if you were to look 10 years ago, working out was very much about this bodybuilder style. And now I think it's a little bit more along that CrossFit full body workouts. But that's not to say that bodybuilder workouts still don't have a place in training. I think they are very beneficial for when it comes to looking like a wrestler. People's first image of you tends to be what their first impression is of you. If you want to look like a professional wrestler so they believe in you, we need to have some bodybuilder muscles going. We need to have some guns, some shoulders. We probably need to have some abs if we're looking to be on the leaner side of things. If you want to be on a post or if you want to sell 8x10s, probably pays off to have a decent looking body. So how does this fit into training? How do we structure this? I think that overall, we need to have some baseline strength training going through at all times of the year. Again, that's not to say that we have to be peaking and hitting 1 rep maxes every single week, but I definitely think we need some strength training across the board, especially because we don't have an off season. I think we need to be utilising metabolic conditioning to the best of his ability to make sure that it's supplementing our wrestling skills. And I think that across the board, we probably need some bodybuilder workouts, but I think if we're getting the strength and we're getting the metabolic conditioning coming in, I don't think that's super crucial, but I definitely think that it helps. What I would also add with this is that your in-ring wrestling training should take more precedent than your gym training. So if it was the choice between the two, I would always go in-ring training. Now, that might seem a little bit off coming from a personal trainer who very much lives in a gym, but I genuinely believe that for all sports we should be playing our sports, and resistance training is the supplement to make us better at our sport. But if we're just spending all this time in the gym, we're not going to get better as a sport. So what's the point of being in the gym? And then finally, if you haven't, I would highly recommend looking at Joe DeFranco's style of training. The DeFranco training system is very much what the WWE use. That is their system. Triple H is a big advocate of it. He's been working with DeFranco for years. Their performance center is now all based, and all their beliefs come from the DeFranco training system. And whether you want to work for the WWE or you just want to be the best wrestler you can be, I would highly recommend looking at the industry leaders and going, what are they doing? They have some phenomenal athletes going through their system. And how are they going through that system? By using the DeFranco method, which is pretty much strength training with metabolic conditioning and some bodybuilding thrown in there too. What I would say to conclude this video is look at your weak points. Where do you think that you need the most work at the moment, and then focusing on that. We can't all be getting bigger, faster and stronger. We probably need to focus on one of those points. So do you need to be stronger? Well, let's work on your strength. Could you do with being a little bit faster and a bit more athletic? Well, let's look at your speed training. Do you feel like you need to look a little bit more like a wrestler? Let's add some more hypertrophy training in there. And this is where resistance training becomes incredibly individualized. If you've got any questions, if you need a hand, feel free to comment below and I'll help out the best that I can. If you've liked this video, give it a like, maybe share it with someone that's also thinking about being a professional wrestler and needs a little bit of a push in the right direction when it comes to their resistance training. If you really like my content, subscribe to the channel, it massively helps. I've been Liam from Lazarus Personal Training and I will see you next time.